Hey, what's up guys? In this video, you'll watch me do a little podcast live with a commercial real estate broker, good friend of mine, Tyler Groth. Great guy, lots of great knowledge and good stuff coming on a podcast there. As you can see, I'm here, I'm actually in Mexico, working remotely during the Thanksgiving holiday. It's one of the great benefits of running an insurance brokerage and having the flexibility of traveling and working wherever you want to work and working remotely. Also, quick shout out before we dive into the video and you start to see some of the content. Shout out to Tudo, boom. Tudo, that's the system that we use for our lead generation, and I highly recommend it for anybody out there looking to scale your insurance agency. You'll also get a little bit of insight of me with my family, doing my thing here on vacation. So just trying to share, kind of document the process and bring as much value to the insurance industry as possible. See you guys. Let's dive into the video. Video.
Ah, okay.
Aquí estamos, no ande como la otra vez, mami.
Ah, sí, ¿verdad? Pero,
Sí.
pero que me ponga filtro.
Ah, bueno. No, pero eso es con Snapchat.
Ah, sí.
Ay, qué risa me
¿Cómo?
dio ese
¿Qué
video.
risa?
No. ¿Viste el video de tu abuelita, no?
Ándale.
¿Qué quieren decir?
Tú vi.
A ver, a ver, ¿tú qué quieres decir, hija?
Yo quiero decir que estoy muy feliz de estar aquí con mi mami, mi hermana, mi yerno, mis hijos, mi esposo, mi suegra, todos aquí en Bucerías, Bahía de Banderas.
Bahía de
Gracias a Dios
Banderas.
por todo lo que nos da. Salud.
Salud.
Y por todo este tequila que has creado, Dios. Gracias.
Gracias y gracias, gracias.
B-Dog.
Yo, life is good.
Ay, bien
We out here.
We got B-Dog in the mix.
Di algunas palabras.
What do you got to say, B-Dog?
I don't got a lot to say, you know, man. Life is good. Life is short. Live it up.
Short and straight to the point, wise words from B-Dog himself.
Salúdame a Lili.
Senora Pau, what do you got to say?
Señora.
Senora Faith.
Señora Faye.
No comment. Please have your people comment.
Okay, I'll have my people call her people.
Allá está el de, ¿cómo se llama? The Boss.
Hey, Dad. Tía Pata, ¿qué quieres decir?
Di unas palabras.
Estoy feliz con esta familia aquí reunida haciendo chilaquiles. Black Friday.
Hey, Dad. Dad,
Oye,
what do you got to
ahora
say?
me están diciendo que diga unas palabras.
Having fun, making memories with the family here in our new resort house in Mexico. Cheers. Cheers.
Excellent words.
Cheers.
Grandma,
Here comes Grandma.
you got to say something.
Come, Jenny.
Oh, she's coming. She's making her way.
Que habló. Give me a blow.
I guess I'll say something while I'm here. Life is real good. Could not ask for a better situation in life. Business is going well. My family's all alive and healthy and well. I feel like my future is extremely bright. Thanks to God. I believe that God is going to continue to bless me with more and more opportunities, and I'm going to continue to try to show up and be the best version of myself every single day. Amen, baby. Woo! We gotta get Grandma. Grandma, we're doing a video vlog. We need you to say just anything to the camera that you have to say. Anything. Whatever you want. She said hi.
No, you have to say something about this trip. Yes. A ver, Christopher, ya. What?
Relaxing.
A ver, niño, ya está.
Sí, sí.
I'm enjoying myself very much.
Ay, pero no se van a quedar acá en ella.
Salud. That's it. Cheers.
I think it'll be fine.
Nice.
So let's see if it's going. All right, Chris. Welcome.
Dude, thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it, man. I'm excited to jump on your podcast and yeah, let's do this, man.
Yeah, and you're coming live from Mexico right now.
Yeah. Yep. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Out here, Thanksgiving vacay. So very nice. Very grateful for my current situation. And yeah, happy to do this as well, dude. It's nice to see you. It's been a while. So it's very nice to kind of get this.
I know. I got to get out to the South Bay sometime very soon. It's been too long. And then maybe Mexico too. That'd be nice as well.
Yeah, dude. I think that the Mexico is definitely in the cards now. So I think we got to all make that happen pretty soon. I know we've done it before, so we got to run it back.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. It's been a couple of years. Well, dude, I'm excited for this because like we keep up, but with a lot of stuff on what you've done with the business over the last 2 years, it's just crazy how it's grown. And so I'm excited to ask you some questions and dig into it. Before we get into like the stuff going on now, I want to take a step back because I'm curious. You got into insurance right out of college, but did you always want to run a business? Did you ever think you were going to just go the normal corporate route? Have you always had that entrepreneurial itch? Like where did that first show up for you?
Dude, yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I've ever actually told you this. And a lot of people probably don't, that are maybe your viewers and my viewers that see this don't know this. But when I was in college, I was working in insurance since I was 18. So I started working in insurance when I was, freshman in college. And so I got my feet wet throughout college, but during that time, I wasn't sure. I wasn't like, hey, I'm set on for sure starting an insurance agency or doing insurance for the long run. I always knew it was a good business. I was like, I like this. This is a very good, everybody needs it. It's a people business. I like talking to people. I like being social, those kinds of things. But I was like actually interviewing. I was trying to get jobs for like corporate, kind of like something more stable, something that, that bills, and just taking the traditional route that everybody pretty much in college, especially, the college, everyone's trying to apply. Everyone's, doing the career fairs, get into the corporate roles. And dude, one thing I realized is I suck at interviewing. Like I truly believe that if I had tried, no joke, dude, like if I tried to actually I actually had a couple interviews with corporate positions and they literally stopped me mid interview and they were like, how do you think this is going right now? And I was just like, it could be better. It could be better. I don't know. Terrible, dude. I was terrible interviewer. I honestly did such little research for preparation to even get myself. One of the companies, I'll just name drop it. It was Ecolab. I was trying to work for Ecolab, which a bunch of the guys in my fraternity in college had connections with and already had an in on. So I was like, oh, I got this job. It's a slam dunk. And dude, they literally, they did not give me the job. I applied at several other places, had terrible interviews. So I just don't think I was fit till this day, I still don't think I could interview at a corporate position and get a job. I just don't think it's for me,
Unemployable.
I'm unemployable, straight up. Like I think I'm a good operator of a business. Like I think I know business, but as far as being and a team member, I don't know. I just don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in knowing you, I think you seem to love, and maybe this is just perception, but you seem to love the sales process. And, later in the conversation, I want to dive into how you've, been able to scale things by really honing in on your sales process. But when it comes to selling, is selling something that you had to really learn, or did it come naturally to you? Did you have a lemonade stand when you were a kid?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think sales did come naturally to me for the most part because, first off, like I said, insurance is a very people business. I think sales has a lot to do with relationships, with having rapport with people. So for the most part, I like to believe that I would say a people person. I can
Mhm.
connect with people. I genuinely, like, it's not just like me faking it like a fake salesman. Like, I genuinely care about people and I want the best for people and I treat them like my family and friends. So for that aspect, I do believe that is a natural, a good skill or good, characteristic to have as a salesperson. Actually overcoming objections and those kinds of things, that took more practice. And I had to learn that the hard way and going through some of those mistakes and a lot of, those things which were new to me. Um, but yeah, so just kind of going back to like when I was a kid, when I was first starting up, or when I was like a little kid, there was like little tendencies that started to show up where I would sell like the Live Strong bracelets, or I would even, the first signs of it, dude, it was crazy. Yeah, those Live Strong bracelets were probably my highest, like that and duct tape wallets. I was like really, real big on duct tape wallets. That was like my thing.
Yeah, I
Did you
did
ever
the
have a
Live
duct
Strong
tape wallet?
bracelets too.
Okay. Dude, yeah.
I don't know
Those are
how I
great.
feel about it. Looking back, I think I was in middle school, and you had to buy like a pack of 10 online, and they were $1
Yeah.
each. So you'd get 10, and I think I was selling them for like $3. And so looking back on it, I'm not sure how I feel on on that process, but it's definitely a bit of a tell at a young age, and it's just funny to look back
Yeah.
on it. But
No, I
yeah, I
mean,
probably wouldn't try and do that today.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, little things like that, I think are signs. So like anybody who's watching and, did stuff like that as a kid, even my sister, it's weird. My sister used to take me with her. We would cut literally, like, I've heard other entrepreneurs talk about this too, where we would cut flowers out of people's front yards. And my sister was the one that kind of leading the way. But I was just there. I was there for the sales. I was there for the, for the clothes, but literally cut their flowers. It's terrible. And then we'd knock on the door, try to sell it to them. They would just buy it because they feel bad, obviously. But we were always looking for the next quick sale. We had lemonade stands. We did all that stuff. Yeah, dude. I think those are quick signs. I think if people are watching this, if you did stuff like that, that's a good indication that you probably enjoy that process. Did you do that stuff, Tyler? What did you do? Did you ever have some weird stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you brought, like I mentioned, the Live Strong thing. I did that. I probably did 5 orders of the Live Strong bands or whatever, and then I think
Oh, nice.
probably my mom caught wind of it and said maybe it's not a great, either give your 3x profits all back to Live Strong, or maybe we stop doing this. But no, I remember things like there was back in the days when people passed notes, like I did, like if there was a time, it's kind of dirtbaggish, but it's almost like I'd intercept a note, I wouldn't read it, but it's like you try and like sell it back to somebody or something, just like things like that. Which again, that's like middle school, not something like notes, like people passing notes in class.
Oh, gotcha.
Right,
You were
like
like a middleman of folding people's like their messages and stuff. That's hilarious.
yeah, that's more on like that's probably more closely related to the operation of the mafia than it is to
Right.
the
That's
operation of a well-performing business. But no, we did the lemonade stand thing. I mean, I grew up, my parents are still on a dead end road out in the countryside, but we still did the lemonade stands. But it definitely was not a high revenue generating business ever. But yeah, I think when you look back at things like that, just like you said, you might have forgotten those tendencies. But if those were your tendencies when you were younger, when you're not thinking about your career, things like that, you're just spending your time how you want
Right.
to for the most part. It's probably a
Right.
good sign if you revisit that hey, am I doing something that resonates with those things that I enjoyed doing? But I think it's a good point. But so you unemployable,
Yeah.
didn't go the corporate route, or the corporate route wouldn't take you either way.
Nope.
So you started off, I know you worked for what, a year or so. Tell me about real quick. Tell me about your time working for working in the insurance business before you started your own firm, and then what ultimately led you to decide to start your own agency.
Yeah. Okay. So I started, like I said, when I was 18. It was straight out of college, or it was straight when I first got into college. I was, freshman, and I was looking for any professional opportunity that I could have. Essentially, that was, a professional job, workplace. I wasn't trying to work at a restaurant like a busboy or anything like that. So, reached out to a buddy of mine, and he connected me with, he's basically recommended that I reach out to his dad. He said, you speak Spanish, right? And I said, yeah, I speak Spanish. Like, my dad's looking for somebody who can work for his farmer's insurance agency that speaks Spanish. All they wanted me to do was just basically handle all the Spanish speaking clients. Cause in LA, I mean, obviously there's so many Hispanic Latin people. So that got me an opportunity foot in the door. I still interviewed, met with him. Luckily, dude, I swear he must have been desperate at the time, but he took a chance on me because I had no business working in that place. So I started working there throughout college, all 4 years in college. I really got a good understanding of how the business worked, accounting, billing, like taking actual transactions, customer service, the sales process, the ins and outs of how the ropes of an insurance agency operated. So while I was there, it's funny, I find these little notes that I used to write on like these little like yellow notepads that I would fold up into like little things and put in my pocket, where I would basically think about how I would run this business myself and how I would do it on my own, and things that I just thought were inefficient and I just didn't think that they were doing, correctly, and I would do differently. Obviously, the thing about insurance, it's a little bit more aged. There's a lot of older people in insurance. It's not a glamorous business. So there's very few young people that are actually taking, the leaps and implementing a lot of the things that are available to us. So kind of always had these plans and ideas, and it's funny, I find them and it's crazy because a lot of them actually did kind of pan out in certain ways. But anyways, yeah, from there, I worked there for 4 years, learned the ropes. And then my decision was, at the end of 4 years, they wanted me to work at that farmer's agency to be either a manager, and essentially be managing that business or that agency. And then my other option was like, okay, I could completely branch off and do my own independent agency on my own, which I knew was a massive gamble and a risk that I had to take that I had no idea if it was going to work. I just said, okay, I'm 21, about to turn 22. I was like, if there's ever a time in my life that I'm going to blow this up and mess this up, like, I would rather do this when I'm 21 or 22 and then be, 2 years later, be 24 and I'm still, I could still go and figure something out, That's when I decided, day one out of college, I let them know I'm not going to work at the farmer's agency and I'm going to basically start my own agency on my own. They were pretty unhappy. And yeah, I mean, that's just part of the business. You kind of just you got to do it, man. You got to do you got to scratch your itch, So I went for it and yeah, launched out of day one. Was that your question? I was like kind of leading up to it, or?
Yeah, it was. So I mean, I think it's interesting because, you've been, Adelphia's now, we just passed 5 years?
Yeah. So I'm about like 5 years and some months.
Gotcha. So 5 years. So, on the outside looking in, you've got an agency that's 5 years old, but you've really got almost a decade of experience in the industry, even though, you're not even 28 yet. So
yeah.
Like you've got more time and experience in the industry than probably what I assume a lot of people would drastically underestimate that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, now because of the way I speak and the things that I know, I think your knowledge just basically speaks for itself when you're talking about certain and your confidence in certain products. I think knowledge and confidence go hand in hand. So when people hear you speak about certain things in triple net lease that, are high level conversations, they know that they know what you're talking about. So that same thing with insurance, man. Like when I'm talking about, big commercial buildings and I know the ins and outs of how those policies work, they can tell quickly. So I don't think a lot of this stuff's over the phone too. So they can't see what I look like, but I think they know like I'm a young, hungry person that knows my stuff pretty well. And yeah, it's been it's crazy to think it's almost been 10 years. So yeah.
Yeah. So specifically with Adelphia, can you think back to a few times, and I don't know if we said that, I know your listeners know, but the name of your agency is Adelphia Insurance, based out of Los Angeles. But was there ever a time, or maybe there's multiple, so what time really sticks out to you in that 5 years where you really felt like there was, I don't know how I'm going to get past this moment, or I don't know if this is going to work out? Or is there a definitive time period or moment that stands out to you where you thought, maybe this just isn't going to be my thing?
I think, honestly, no. There was never a moment where I was like, this is just not going to work. I always understood that this business model is something that continues to grow and compound, and you really need time. There's nothing you can do. You need time in this business. There was maybe a period of time in the first year where I was like, this is just really difficult when it came to hiring. That's when I started to get a little nervous when it came to hiring. That was like the biggest leap that I had to make, was start to actually bring people on, put people on payroll, because now that was the only time I felt a little bit like, okay, I'm really taking this thing to the next level and this is a leap. And it was more just getting over the fear, but I can confidently say I never felt like this is not going to work. I always believed it was going to work. And I just believe it's a very stable business. And yeah, so no, I mean, there was definitely ups and downs, man, like any other business and any other thing you do, but it never really discouraged me. I always just felt this is part of the game. This is all part of the journey. No one ever said it was going to be fully smooth and easy. So I just kept pushing through, man.
Yeah, and when you say you mentioned fear, and it sounded like it was right around the time that you were starting to hire. Can you talk more about what specifically? That just the fear of others depending on you now, the fear of, now I'm increasing my expense, but
Yeah.
is the revenue going to follow? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. It's like now somebody's counting on you for their income. So it's a scary feeling. I'd never had anybody on payroll for anything. So knowing that somebody is now, like, you have to be accountable, not just to yourself and to your clients and that, but now to your team member, somebody who is part of your organization. The decisions you make directly impact them and their income as well. So that was probably the biggest thing. It was a bit fearful. I hired a couple people, they didn't work out. I had to let them go quickly. And then luckily, by the grace of God, I got one, just a very good team member, and she's still with me. She's my office manager now, and her name is Jamel. She's awesome. So, but yeah, it's scary, man. It's scary to, like, also delegating and letting go of things that you can do very well, but comfortable and okay with letting somebody else do them just as well as you. It maybe, if not as well as you. So there's definitely things you have to let go of that are, I think a lot of people deal with that too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think definitely. And something that I've always admired about the way you've grown the business is that you, for those establishing years of your own agency, delayed the gratification that you get from, whether it's going out and spending a lot of money, whether it's, deciding to upgrade the office, things that aren't necessary, but you had the capital to do. But I want to talk about your mentality around consistently just reinvesting and plowing profits back into the company, and the effect that's had here, 3, 4, 5 years now down the road. Talk to me about that. And was that always your mentality? Did you learn that
So I did have a bit of a plan. It was extremely rough. Like, it was like literally written on a yellow notepad, but it was laid out like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7. And it was all banking on income, reinvested, and growth. And it was all just projections of money that did not necessarily exist by any means. So the only thing I did know was I spoke to one of my dad's buddies from college, who was a very successful insurance agent, local as well, from where in the South Bay area. And I remember I called him before I decided to make the decision to just start my own agency. And he basically said, he's like, Chris, when I started my agency, I didn't pay myself for 18 months. So just prepare to not make any money for 18 months. And that always just kind of stuck in the back of my head. I was like, all right. So I already knew, I was like, okay, this is going to be a challenge, but just hearing it from somebody who has the wisdom, that's already done it, it's already where you want to be. That was really kind of important for me to hear that. And then also, I think just there's something is about being a good business person. Like, some people just have a business knack. Like, they just know how to make money and grow money. needs speed. And I think if you can delay gratification of pulling money out of a business and using money for your own satisfaction, your own happiness, and your own pleasure, the longer you're able to hold your breath and do that, the longer and the faster your money is going to start to compound in a business and grow. So I just, essentially took about, well, dude, even till this day, it's funny. I still make videos and I talk about this. I still pay myself so little. Like, people have no idea. Like, I barely pay myself. Even my CPA the other day was like, Chris, you got to start paying yourself more, man. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should probably start paying myself. But I'm just like, I would rather hire a new employee. I'd rather put more into marketing. I just love seeing the thing grow. And it's part of my goal. As long as I don't really need it, like, I don't have a family, I don't have kids, I don't have like massive expenses. I have everything I need. I have the car I really like. I live where I want to live. I have enough to pay my monthly, pleasure stuff that I want to take care of. So right now I'm pretty stoked. I don't need anything else. And I'm just going to keep pouring every other dollar that exists back into making this business as big as I possibly can make it.
Yeah. Right now, what specifically are the things that you see as the highest return on investment for recycling those dollars back into the business?
That's a really good question. The number one thing is so generating leads and hiring people. So hiring team members, that's probably your biggest is team members on payroll and commission, paying people commission, but also generating the leads. So those two things together, if you have a very good system to generate a lot of leads and a lot of opportunities for people, whether, what strategy looks like, there's a million different types for different businesses, but also then putting the right people in the right seats to execute and close those deals. Then there's something in between, which is the train and the actual processes that are involved in like getting somebody to efficiently do them and do them, because, closing ratios and all those things are factors once you start to get the opportunities in the door. But opportunities, creating leads, and then also hiring top-notch people, paying top dollar for the best people to help grow, because you can't grow a business by yourself. You need people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've utilized, I know you mentioned Jamel's there in the South Bay with you, and I think maybe one or two other people in your office are, but you've also utilized VAs as well, right?
Yeah, dude, VAs
So
are
talk to me
probably
a little bit more about how you go about that process. And like, obviously the first one was probably a whole new something you hadn't done before, and so maybe the first one was kind of figuring out how it works. But talk to me about how you have been able to find success doing that, because I think it's something that a lot of people are looking at more and more these days.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm like, some of the best investments you can make is hiring a virtual assistant when it comes to team members, because they're out of the country, wages are a little lower. You can really get a very high bang for your buck on paying wages. So getting a virtual assistant, and the reason I got a virtual assistant in the first place was because honestly, like, I grew the business to a point where there was a large service demand, where my back was basically against the wall at one point, where I basically needed I needed more team members, and like, people were out sick or they weren't available. And it was me. I remember this day, like, very vividly. I remember, like, I was handling all the service in my business one day. And it was like, at this point, we're already like over 2 or 3 million in business. And I was just handling so much service stuff that I was so fed up. I was like, dude, I can't keep doing this. I cannot keep being I can't keep doing the sales, the accounting, the marketing, the blah, blah, and the service. It's just too much. So I basically, one day I was like, this is the last day that I'm ever going to be in a position where I don't have someone else able to answer the phone. And so I decided that day, I was like, I need to hire someone immediately. And the first thing available was a virtual assistant. And so I went to a couple different virtual assistant agencies. And I highly recommend going through an agency, because those agencies, they already vet people, they train them, they already pick high qualified people with degrees, very smart people. There's very good talent in different places. So limiting yourself to people just that you have in person, I think, is a mistake. it's good to have an in-person team, I believe, because it helps build a solid foundation of a culture. But having people that you have to bring in overseas or even out of the, in different parts of the country really opens your doors to candidates and quality talent. So yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic investment. They're going to take so much off your plate and allow you to focus on revenue generating activities that are going to make you and your business more money. So very, very important.
Yeah.
Hire smart. I think VAs is a great way to go.
Yeah, I think the VA trend is so fascinating, and it'll be interesting to see how it ultimately affects the people in the United States who have the same skill set. Because I think when a lot of people hear VA, they think executive assistant, they think just, someone to handle very low,
Right.
I don't want to say low level tasks, but just very basic tasks. But the reality is that you can find incredible talent to do almost anything that you would find any salaried position at a major company here in the US. The difference being obviously the wages, like you said. And so you're not really sacrificing quality of the product that you're getting, but the wage is so much less. And a huge part of that has got to be just with how expensive US cities have gotten to live in. And traditionally, you've had to live near a big city. You got to follow the money and where the companies are. But now with remote work and with work overseas becoming more competitive from a performance perspective and wage, like maybe we'll start to see more people who work in marketing go to be contract and move away from cities, and then those rates become more competitive because the median home price is only 400 grand in the suburbs as opposed to 800 grand living closer to downtown. And so now these employees in the US maybe will have more options, because I know that's what some people say. Well, I don't want to hire people overseas. What about the people here in the U.S.? Yada yada yada. But I think things will naturally maybe start to play out with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do it, this is the reality of the world. If you don't do it and you want to keep the economy going here in the U.S., you want to be a good Samaritan for the United States to keep the money in the U.S. Is that what you're saying, Tyler? You're basically saying like they want to try to keep
there's some pushback because if you look at, I grew up in Michigan, and so, the auto industry was huge in Michigan. And then once skilled labor started happening in places like Mexico and the auto manufacturers started moving manufacturing jobs down to Mexico, the pushback was, well, now we're taking those jobs from American workers, whatever. Well, now you're seeing that come back where wages have gotten competitive, and other companies in other countries are now using manufacturing in the US to do those jobs. And so I feel like the same thing will happen eventually. It's just going to take, somebody who really doesn't want to live in downtown San Francisco to make, and has to be paid 100 grand for a marketing role. They can move out to the suburbs where their cost of living is a fraction, or just out of California completely. And now you might not need to hire somebody in the Philippines. You'll be able to hire somebody in Wyoming who will be able to have a competitive rate as well.
Yeah, I just think if
that's a little bit of a tangent around that.
No, totally. I just think if you don't do it, somebody else is going to take advantage of it, and they're going to get ahead of you in business. And it's simple as that. This is business. People are going to make, or they're going to do what they have to grow, and that's pretty much it.
Well, dude, I want to shift gears a little bit, because I think a lot of what you talked about all comes with a lot of time, effort, energy that you've put into building the business. But I know something that is important to you is managing health, well-being, physical, mental. Talk to me about your perspective on how you've balanced that while starting the business and ramping things up and just continuing to grow and keep your foot on the pedal.
Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about the health and wellness. I think it's such an important part that is highly underrated, underestimated for business people. Feeling good in business is so important. Walking in, feeling sharp, having energy, having, just the energy and the motivation to do things. And also, I think there's a big correlation with highly successful people and people who are in good shape. Like the fact that you are able to have a good body, strong, big muscles, like whatever it is that you have, it's a sign of something that is really important in business, which is discipline. So the fact that you're able to eat well and be consistent, like those things you don't just wake up with a good body and have a healthy mind and those kinds of things. Those are things you have to work at, hitting the jading, eating well. Like those are not easy to do. Like it's hard to eat salads and chicken. Nobody wants to eat salads and chicken all the time or every single day for 3 months. You don't want to sit down and force yourself to meditate for 15, 20 minutes in the morning sometimes. It's just things that you don't feel like doing. I'm a big believer that everything you want in life is on the other side of hard work. So I think there's a massive correlation with health and wellness and well-being with business success. And it's interesting. You look at a lot of successful business owners and they tend to be in pretty good shape. Like they're active, they're up in the morning, getting things done. Dude, I know you're one of the people that has made a pretty big impact on my life, just watching you being in amazing shape, especially even as, I'm a few years younger, obviously. So watching you get, into your 30s, early 30s, and you're still just jamming. Dude, it's a good also example for people around you too. It's just net, everything about it is so positive. You're going to live longer. You're going to feel better. You're going to make the people around you better. There's so many positives to it. So, I mean, yeah, man, I think that is underestimated in the business world. I think a lot of people need to get their health right. Health right first, health and mind right first, then focus on your business,
Yeah. So when you think about specifically, like we said, been doing insurance in the industry for 9 years, 5 years with Adelphia, very much still, I know you have big plans. So you're very much still in the beginning phases. I think it's become much more popular to look at people who have kind of climbed the mountain of success with their business or whatever it is, and then they've decided to prioritize their health, and the morning routines, all this stuff. But if you look back on what they were doing in year 5 of running their business, their health was not a priority. Like, how have you viewed, because rather than, because it seems to be there's kind of camps that say, well, my health is very important to me. I believe that is my number one. That's my baseline. I've got to have a healthy body, healthy mind, and then I can show up as my best self to build the business and do the work. And then there's another camp that seems to say, I can take my health, sacrifice it in the short term, run as hard as I can just on the business stuff, and then I'll have some time, or then I'll have some resources or what have you to come back and get my health after the fact. What's your viewpoint on that?
No, dude, I so disagree with that. It's crazy. I just think, yeah, you can take that route. That's awesome. But for me personally, especially when you're dealing with so much stuff, like running a business now I currently have 7 employees, 7 team members. Having 7 team members, plus juggling my own sales, plus juggling the accounting, plus the marketing, plus the growth, plus like all these headaches and stresses that come with a business, resorting to eating ice cream and, laying on the couch and drinking beers. Obviously there's times and place for all those things, but resorting to that to cope with how you're feeling, I think it's a recipe for disaster. Like for me personally, like hitting a 5-mile run and hitting the gym and, drinking, protein shakes and eating well, there's something that registers in my mind that just makes me feel like I'm doing something positive. It makes me feel good. So like I said, it just kind of goes back to feeling good. When you're feeling good, you're vibrating at an energy that people they resonate with. They can sense that. We're all very intuitive, energetic beings. So we can all tell when somebody's not feeling so well, or they're kind of off, or something's weird. And yeah, I think there's that waiting till after you do have levels of success to go and get your health right, is a mistake, because you're going to be lethargic. You're going to be slow. You're going to be overweight. you also risk potentially dying early. So I just don't think that's a good move. Just feeling good. I think working out, getting a good workout on mentally does a good thing for you. I mean, I think there's science behind it, like dopamine levels and stuff, endorphins or whatever. I honestly don't know the science behind it, but all I know is that it makes me feel amazing when I'm on top of my health and my physical activity. So yeah, man, I don't think you should wait. You should definitely take care of that in tandem while you're growing your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know we're definitely aligned on this. And it's, when I was talking to Taylor about
Yeah.
this, one of the things
Yeah.
he talked about was like having this long-term mindset on not just business, playing the long game, but also from building a lifestyle that can withstand the long game. And I thought that was a great point, because he said very well what we're talking about, which is, rather than do the one thing and sacrifice this very important thing, how do I build a lifestyle that allows me to take care of myself and then show up and still push myself even harder on the business side of things, as opposed to feeling like 30 minutes at the gym is time being taken away from building my business. It's actually something that I'm investing in that's going
Right.
to pay dividends for my business.
Right. And I think that's another thing that maybe you want to, even if you want, it's up to you, dude, if you want to dive into this, but the feeling of doing things that don't seem at the time as ROI positive, because we're in a culture of cold calls, like cold emailing, prospecting, and then anything that doesn't relate to cold calls or prospecting sometimes makes you feel like, damn, like I should be working. I should be doing something. So I'm a big believer in that too.
100%.
Like dialing in your health, it doesn't feel like you're making money or you're doing the right thing for your business, but net, long run, something sustainable, especially if you don't plan on exiting in the next 5 years. I think it's a very, very good investment to spend time and hit the gym for sure, man. I agree with that.
Yeah. Or whatever that looks like for you. It's just a walk. It can be as simple as walking, honestly. That's, and it doesn't have to be an hour and a half. It can be 30 minutes. It's the gym is kind of the easy thing, but we just mean it's just taking care of your body and mind. And you know what that means intuitively for you. So it's just doing that, and whatever that is for you, making it a
sure.
priority and just making it a non-negotiable.
Sure.
It's funny you bring that up. Oh, because one of the you talked about cold calls, cold emails, all that stuff. One of the things that you have been focused on a lot, I know, is on building systems, processes that are going to really help you and have helped you scale things in the business. Has that been a mentality shift for you, doing things, does it feel a bit like delegating when you're doing the automation and setting things up, because you're taking something that that you can do and do well, and you're creating a system that replaces it from your workload? And does that kind of feel like that, gosh, I should be doing something, but you've set up this system that can handle that? Does that make sense?
Does it feel like what exactly? What do you mean?
Does it feel like that so to go back, you said sometimes when we're not doing those things in business, like those manual outreach things,
Got it.
we
Okay.
feel like we should be doing those. Just focusing on the automations and stuff, has that given you a bit of that as well, where you feel, should I be doing this? Or
Yeah, I get you now. I hear
what's
you.
been your mindset on those?
Yeah, I think that's something I had to let go of as well. Knowing that like a robot is pretending to be me versus me giving that personal touch. I think that I'm a believer in like high activity. So like activity is going to win. Whoever is doing more or whoever's doing more efficiently is probably going to end up ultimately winning the game. When it comes to sales. So yeah, you got to let go of that, knowing that there's going to be mistakes. Dude, I've had our automations accidentally blast 7,000 people at one time that it was an error. Like you will make mistakes. There's going to be things that are going to go wrong, and just being okay with knowing that this is part of the game. This is part of the process. I'll never forget. There was one day that some company, it was a real estate guy, called. He's like, Chris, I respect what you do. I know you're working hard. I know you're trying to make money. I know you're trying to make sales, but your company has called me 15 times in the last 10 minutes. Do not remove my number from your database. And it was because at the time we were testing like voicemail drops. But what happened was, it was actually a commercial real estate firm. So what happened was, they had 15 different phone numbers that all linked back to one guy. Essentially, I blew up this guy's phone with text messages and voicemail drops, and he was furious. He handled it respectfully. I was like, thank you, sir. I really apologize, but it kind of kept going because it was on a drip campaign that we were testing. So I felt really bad for my team because they were getting these calls like, F you guys. Like, so you will make mistakes, and there's going to be errors that are made, but you have to be okay with going through those. And there's no way around them. Like, you could try to learn from mentors and learn from people like me. Like, hopefully people listening to this, like they see some of the little issues, like these are things that are going to come up. So be aware of them. But ultimately, I'm a big believer, like, you have to make mistakes and adapt quickly, adjust quickly, fix them. And that's part of it. Like, business is going, like, you also have to remember, like, when a CEO is a CEO of a company, it's his first time being a CEO. Maybe not, but like when somebody gets promoted to CEO and they're the CEO of a company, everybody looks at them like, oh shoot, like he's the CEO. But like, that's the first time this guy's a CEO. Nobody really knows what they're doing ever. Like, people don't know what they're doing half the time. So like, you have to just kind of go into things. And I hate to say this, but especially when you're first starting out a business it's your first time, you will learn a lot of things on the fly. And that's just the reality of it. I learned a ton of stuff on the fly. But luckily, mentors and a lot, like, listening to stuff like this is going to help you expedite that process, I think.
Yeah. What have been, like, for your business specifically, what have been the things that have been the most impactful on the automation side of things? Is it at a specific stage? Is it more in the lead generation stage and the qualifying stage and the nurturing stage? Like, where have you found the most success with utilizing some of these technologies?
So the number one success has been texting. And then, okay, so there's a couple things with it. Texting people, I'm a big believer that text messaging is kind of the way, especially younger generations. Like, a lot of people, younger generations, don't really want to be on the phone. So like, cold calling is obviously still very effective, but text messaging, we've seen a lot, really, really positive response, and some huge opportunities that have come through my office have come from a cold text message. Then it comes down to the data. Who are you actually reaching out to? Do you know who you're reaching out to? How targeted is that, automation or that message that you're sending to? How specific can you get into the subject lines, the body of the automations? And then kind of going into, what do you do next? Let's say they do respond positively. Yes, I do want a quote. Yes, I do want a triple net lease building. Sure. Now what? So then where do you take them from there? And that's where the nurturing stage. So for me, it's been generating a lot of leads, getting people to say yes. That's where the first thing that we figured out how to do. Like, I can figure out how to generate a lot of leads. Great. Now what? Okay. Some people say maybe, some people say text me in 3 months. What do we do with those people? You have to have a plan and a process and a workflow. There needs to be workflows for all different. You'll start to realize there's only probably like 5 different spectrums of different types of responses you start to get. Like, the FUs are pretty awesome. Like, don't ever text me again. You know what to do with them. People will say, yes, I do want it. Okay, perfect. Boom. We put them into a certain workflow where now we will actually physically call them or email them. The people that say maybe or reach out to me in a certain amount of time, if it's a certain amount of time, we put them into a workflow for that period of time. So we have specific per month actually worked out workflows, like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. And it does that based on that. The maybes are like, okay, maybe we should give them a little bit of space, but we try to retarget them in a month or something like that. So there's going to be a spectrum. Or, I'm retired. No worries. Thank you. Okay, great. Congratulations on retirement. There's a workflow for retirement. Like everything has its own workflow. And then it's a matter of now, well, the stage we're at, because we've been able to generate so many opportunities and so many leads. Now it's okay, nurturing them, getting it to as far to the finish line as possible, which with what the automation can handle. And then it's passing it to a qualified salesperson who can just literally take that info, call them up, send them a quote, and execute on the actual sale of that process. So then it's a matter of, okay, now you have a ton of leads. Now you need people and you need team to work and close these deals. And I think that's probably going to be the challenge for any business. The first thing is creating opportunities and sales, like opportunities to make sales. Then it's having the people. You don't want to just go start hiring a ton of people if you don't have opportunities waiting at the door. My belief is have a whole pipeline filled with people begging for your product, and then you should start to hire. Don't go and just hire unless your strategy requires people to do manual stuff. So that's a different strategy. But my belief is like create opportunities, bring people in to execute on them, and then you refine all their processes and even the team and training. That's more where we're at now. It's more like developing people and training people so that they can make as much money as they can possibly make, which their success is our success. So yeah, that's where it's led. This whole automation thing has led to pretty much.
Yeah, talk to me more about that, because it seems from the outside looking in that the insurance industry, like you said, it's a lot of the practices are probably considered more antiquated. It's generally probably a lot of agencies are owned and managed by individuals who are, probably getting closer to retirement, but in their 50s, 60s, things like that, as opposed to people who are in your position who are just starting out in their 20s, 30s. And so I imagine that model that exists out in the industry is much more based on, Chris, you're right out of college. Hey, we'll give you a job. Here's a phone. Go out there, drum up some business, handle the whole thing for yourself. You've built something where you're going out trying to hire a salesperson saying, look, you're going to sit down day one and we're going to have qualified leads coming into you. You've just got to execute. It's a much different role, I think.
Yeah.
At least that's my perspective. And you've also built a system machine business that doesn't need a different type of salesperson versus the typical type of insurance salesperson that you see being hired at most other agencies.
Yes. Yeah. So no, I mean, you hit it on the nail. Like that's basically what we've developed. I think a lot of other agencies are, like you said, antiquated. They just want people in there that can help make, the standards service and the sales. But by offering people opportunities to change their income and the income for their families and to really make a ton of money for themselves, and not have to figure out those things on their own. I think that's a duty of a business owner, is to like bring people in to an environment. They have the opportunities already there to make money. Like they shouldn't have to go figure that out on their own. I think a lot of business owners and like operators think that, I'm going to hire this guy. He better go find some deals, dude, that's your job, is to find the deals, make this and bring people in. Obviously, like you don't want to, what's it called? Like create a zoo animal where they've never been able to hunt and find stuff on their own. But you definitely want to make sure they're coming into an environment where there are opportunities where they can make money and they're not having to figure that all on their own. You're running this business for 5 years. You should know how to generate leads, or at least train people appropriately to do it the way you do it. And then it comes down to a training thing. Like it's a matter of do you have the processes, the systems, and the training to streamline and efficiently help your people and your team change the income for their families. Dude, you've got to put your team first. I know it sounds super cliche, but like put your team first. What kind of environment would you want to walk into Like one that has 0 leads and 0 opportunities and like no training, or somebody who's like so invested in you, wants you to win, and also holds you accountable too. Hey man, what happened this month? We gave you 50 leads. Did you call them? Did you text them? Did you follow up? Did you follow the process? Have you been watching the trainings? Are you using the
Yeah.
trainings? Are you doing the things that we're trying to teach you to make sales? These are the things that work. I'm not just making these things up. I'm not telling you to do these things. I think they're fun, or they're just fun for me to talk about. No, I'm telling you because I've done them. I've personally been there. They've made me a ton of money. It's going to make you a bunch of money. You got to listen to me. And that's another thing. It's like hiring people that are coachable is essential. And not bringing in people that are just closed-minded. You got to have coachable team and processes as well. Oh, coming live soon. Nice.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it, Tyler. I'm ready.
Hey.
We in?
Yeah. I want to finish that thought though around hiring salespeople. Given your model, have you had to rethink the compensation because you're not, giving somebody a desk and a phone and an internet connection and saying, hey, go find new business? You're essentially saying, hey, here's new business, close the new business. Like, how have you thought about that compensation structure versus what's typical in the industry?
That's a really good question. So yeah, we definitely had to shift our virtual assistants compensation with our in-person office compensation. The in-person office is an hourly based position. So that the reason for that is because it's there's a lot more accountability. I can actually see people, I can help them, I'm there, I see them. And typically the in-person position gets paid more hourly and salary. The virtual position, because it's like, we're really just banking on you making sales and taking, handling stuff, which we can't really hold you accountable to. We've taken all the measures we can with, so just to make it clear, that's a salary base, like that's a flat salary, a base salary every single month. There's no hourly. So because it's too hard to keep track of people's hours when they're virtual, and you take all the different measures you could possibly take with systems like, screenshot, behind the scenes screenshotting of people's screens where you can actually track them and see them. You can track their calls. You can see what their activities are. Those kinds of things. Like those are things that we've been doing, on the virtual people. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. And when it comes to hiring a salesperson to take the leads and move them forward, it's primarily salary plus commission, which is different, or is that standard in the industry, or is the industry much more heavily commission based?
So yeah, we are salary plus commission. The industry tends to do that, but we are much more aggressive on the commission. Like we pay a lot of commission up front. The salary base is also very competitive with the current insurance market. But yeah, most insurance agents will do salary or hourly plus commission. Our commission, I would argue, is some of the most competitive in possibly the country. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, shifting, I'm not sure if this is going to make it on the if the clip is going to make it on, but you just did a post to, I'm assuming that was either Instagram or it'll be used at a later time, but something I want to talk to you about, because it's been it's been something you put a lot of work, time, and effort into, is social media and how you've leveraged that to build a personal brand, but also, I guess in today's day and age, there's not much separation between personal and professional brand. Talk to me about your perspective and your journey using social media. And you've always seemed to have some type of plan in place or end goal in place that you've been working towards. And it's been evident in the success that you've had in doing that. But talk to me about how you've approached social media.
I think social media is probably the number one most important tool that any business should be using for all different platforms, and all different businesses, actually. it's the main way you get exposure, and people know who you are. So you really can't make a sale of any product, any service, if nobody knows who you are. Like, they need to have some level of knowledge of what your product is or what your service is. And social media has given us the opportunity in the last, 10 years to put those things, in front of people for free, essentially. And yeah, I think it just comes down to the creative and who's behind, who's pulling the levers, who's making the content and putting things out there that is attracting attention. So I think attention is ultimately the key, not social media per se. It comes down to attention. Like, even if a Super Bowl commercial makes sense for your business, like, you should do it because it's going to get the right attention. That's going to lead to leads and opportunities and sales and revenue for your business. But I think social media right now, Instagram, Reels, TikToks, Facebook, LinkedIn are some of those platforms that are underpriced attention, where it's free and you can reach a lot of people. And yeah, that's pretty. And I've taken that approach, from day one. I always intuitively knew that that was going to be a key to growing and insure my agency.